I am so sick of photographers telling me that I need a wedding album. Where am I even gonna put all of these albums? It is crazy expensive. I don't have thousands of dollars right after I got married to spend on my bookshelf, on my desk, my coffee table. I don't even have a coffee table. I am never ever gonna look at this album. I have a friend who got married a couple of years ago and she said that she never opened her wedding album, so I don't think I will need one either. And it's 2019, people. We can just put all of our pictures online. Whoever wants to see it, they can just go on their computer, on their phone. That's why we have phones, so we can look at our pictures on it. And by the way, I don't even care about wedding pictures. I'm not even gonna have a wedding photographer. So no, I don't need wedding albums. You're probably thinking like, wow, Eddie, why are you being so snarky? That's just how I am. You can ask my husband if you don't believe me. Anyway, the reason I chose this title is because I just want to have my point to come across and talk with you guys about wedding albums. I have a really strong opinion about pictures, wedding pictures, and printing out your photos. So that's what today's podcast episode is going to be about. A lot of time I see brides talking about how they don't care about having their photos printed. First of all, it's very, very expensive. So if you are already paying thousands of dollars for your wedding photographer and you're paying so much for other vendors for your whole wedding, and then now at the end or after your wedding, you feel like you have to spend even more money to buy your wedding album. The other most common reason is they don't know where to put it. They feel like they're never gonna look at it. They thinking about, okay, I'm gonna order this big one. This one is 12 by 12, so it's pretty big, and this is like just a sample album, so it would be even thicker because you probably would want to have more pages than this one. So you're thinking like, I don't want to put it on a shelf because it's just going to be in my way. I don't want to put it on a table because it's going to be in my way. Why should I just put it away somewhere on a storage? Because then it doesn't have any purpose for it. A third reason is they don't feel like they're gonna look at it as much, because if you are looking at a photo album like twice a day, maybe you feel like, oh yeah, I spent thousands of dollars on this book and now I'm looking at it every day. It's really worth my money. And also I don't know how many, fourth or fifth reason, you're just having them online anyway. It's on your computer, it's on your phone, you can share it on Facebook, on Instagram. So if somebody wants to look at it and asking you for wedding pictures, you can just pull them up quickly and show it to them. Or a little bit more dramatic reason is that you're just not having photos, you're not hiring a photographer anyway. So let me share my story with you about my wedding photos, my wedding albums, and maybe you can learn from my mistakes and my experience. We had a very quick and very cheap courthouse wedding, and it was documented by one of our friend who handed all of the pictures in a digital file. And since we are creative people, we really wanted to make something over the top, something really crazy and creative and unique with our photos. Back in 2008, heavy photoshopped pictures and textured photos, that was really popular back then. We did that with all of our photos, curly flowers on the edge of them, and we put text over it. We modified the colors. The craziest one is on our wedding album that I have. It is black and white, not even black and white. It is brown and white, so sepia tone, and red roses in my bouquet. So yeah, very, very creative and unique. And yes, just like you heard it from other couples probably, we never really looked at those pictures for years. When I started talking more with people about my past, about how I got married, I got the album off of the shelf and started looking at it pictures, and I told my husband, oh my God, like these photos look horrible with all of these filters. They were printed on a cheap paper, so they're getting a little bit discolored, and we have a ton of these flowery floral filters on them. and some text and quotes on it. But I was like, okay, I'm not going to stress about this because we have the digital files somewhere. So I can just pull those and modify, and make it like as a real picture should be without all those filters on it. And I cannot find those digital files. So yeah, I looked at all of our hard drives, all of our computers, and all of our like CDs that we have, and I finally just gave up on it. And I know that now I know that we're never gonna have our pictures, our original ones. All we have is these pictures that I just showed you in our album that I printed out. And now this album became even more valuable for me because this is all I have from our wedding, and this is all I have that I can show my children. And I'm showing our daughters how we looked when we got married and how much we were in love. And even with all of these silly filters and colors and florals on it, they're still very, very valuable for us, and they're priceless. So I shared this story with you because I want you to learn from my mistakes that I made. Obviously, but not obviously. For me, it is. When I got married, I didn't know that I am going to be a wedding photographer, that I'm going to be somebody whose job is making these photo memories for other couples and providing this value for them. The first lesson is don't get too much caught up on present trends that they have. Like it was in 2008, it was Photoshops and filters and textures to putting over and florals over those pictures. And that's how every photos look like. And maybe if you have somebody who got married around that time, they also have photos that look like that. So my photos that I give to my clients, they're very minimal edits into it. It's more just a little bit contrasty, but I'm trying really hard to stay true to as you see it in real life. These photos are made to be presentable for years and even after you are gone, for your kids and grandkids. Even if they're just black and white, then you still have some feelings and emotions seeing those photos. Just maybe that's what I should do with my pictures, just put them all in black and white. But maybe you thinking that you don't mind that at all because you do want your photos to look like from this day and age, which is fine too. But it's always good to make sure that you still have the original photos in case you want it for something else, or in case you just want to show those to your kids. My second lesson and advice to you is print. They're gonna last you forever. They're if you get a good album, they're durable. They are not gonna fade out. They're gonna stay like that forever. And I know that you hear that from every photographer, and it's just like a broken record now. Yeah, I get it. Like it's for my kids. But if you really think about it, a printed picture, how valuable that is and how timeless that is, because your digitals can get lost like mine did, or just simply get out of date. Because when I started shooting weddings, I remember that I used to deliver the digital files to my clients in a CD format, DVD, and then we started giving them out on a USB. And because now you don't even have a CD player on your laptops, most of them, the new ones, don't even have them anymore. And then now the third option, the most modern option, is to just put them online. I think that most people wouldn't even download them. They just go on that gallery, look at the photos, choose a couple of them that they want to post on social media, or maybe they want to print out a couple just for their desk or something, and they just leave the gallery there. Maybe the photography business that you hired, what if they get they close their business and they shut down their gallery, and you will never have access to those photos anymore. Anyway, my point is that even if you only receive pictures online, download them on your computer, put them on multiple hard drives, put it on a USB, on a CD, on a hard drive. And then, if you really don't want to print them out because you really don't believe in it, at least just have your digital files on multiple places. I built in wedding albums in all of my packages. So, if you hire me for your wedding, then you will get a wedding album no matter what package you choose. I think that if a wedding photographer is the one providing it to you, then you're guaranteed that you're gonna have a good quality. However, I do believe that digital files, to have those ones, are just as important, because even me often, what I pick, what I like or select for a specific reason, one time, maybe a couple of years later, I would have chosen another photo. So I think like, oh, I wish I would have chosen a different photo for this album. So it's just good to have your digital files, and then you can share them on social media or make some prints and copies for your parents or grandparents. And maybe the reason you don't want to have an album because it's just heavy and you don't have a room for it, you're planning to move somewhere else in another country or you live in a really small apartment and you just don't have room for it, and you're thinking that maybe I'll just make an album later in our life when we get older and we have kids, and then I'll just sit down and choose some photos from my files, which can happen too. But even then, maybe you can just print out a couple of 4x6 like little prints and put them in a box, and maybe just even put a label on it that it is for your future kids, so you feel like you're making this gift for your future kids. So these pictures are not really for you, they are for your future generation, so you feel like you already have something special to share with them. So if I convinced you to have wedding albums, but you are still thinking like, okay, I do want wedding albums, but I don't have money to pay my professional photographer to make it for me, then what is my alternative option? And I have a couple of ideas for that. If you know ahead of time that you're going to want to have this wedding album, maybe you can ask that from your guests as your wedding gift. You have these registries now online like Zola, like I mentioned last week, where you can request products and experiences that you want your guests to purchase for you. So maybe one of those can be your album, and then since it's a higher price range, maybe a couple of guests can group up or just give you a cash fund to purchase this wedding album. So if you know this ahead of time and you collect enough money, then after your wedding you can have that album just as your wedding gift. And the reason why these albums are so expensive, because like I mentioned, the quality, and then also their knowledge that they know how to tell the story of your day, the storyline, so they know what pictures to put after each other, by each other, so they complement each other good, they look good together, the colors, the brightness, the layout, and the design on the album. So you pay for that, for their expertise, and then you also pay for their time, because it takes a lot of time to put these albums together. Some couples just don't have that time, and it's just worth more. Time is more valuable for them, so they would rather pay somebody to do it, and then at least they know that they're done in the right way and they're gonna last forever, so they don't have to stress about that. And you can always just ask for like a payment option from your wedding photographer. But let's just say that you still need a cheaper option, then I wrote down a couple of places where you can order these albums from. I'm gonna put all of these in my show notes. Before you decide on one of these services to order your albums from, make sure that you kind of have an idea of how many photos you want to or need to use. Make sure you look at all of them if they're vertical or horizontals, because you're gonna have to think about that when you're doing a layout, how small or big the people are going to be on your book depending on the size of the book that you're gonna choose. This one is a 12 by 12, and this one is a 10 by 10 size, and this one is 8 by 8, this little black one. So you kind of see the size of them, and then you have to kind of see how many photos you're gonna want to have and how many photos are you gonna put on each page. And if you end up with a lot of pages, like over 100, then maybe you need to look into some of these services and websites if these printer labs, if they are even printing albums that have that high page quantity. But obviously it's going to depend on a lot of your wedding, of how long was your wedding, how many activities you had, how many pictures you got from your photographer. And also don't forget that if you are printing out your own wedding albums, don't just limit yourself with the photos from your professional photographer from your professional pictures that you get from your photographer, but also you can put in some pictures that were taken with the phone from the guests that you received, or your parents or yourself. So you don't have to only put pictures in from your photographer. If you're making the album, then why not? Just put whatever makes you happy, and whichever photos you love, you can always just add those to it too. All right, guys, this is all I had for wedding albums. I really hope that I convinced you to order one for yourself, even if the quality is not going to be that good, but it's still better to have something than just rely on your digital files. And if you get your digital files on an online gallery, download them all, even pictures that you don't like because you might like them later. Don't just think that you are not gonna ever look at these photos, never look at these albums. Maybe you won't be looking at them in your first year, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, because especially in your first year, you're just so busy doing other things, moving in the house together, job, kids, and everything that comes with marriage. But trust me, after 10 years, these photos are gonna be so much fun and emotional to look at, especially when you have kids. I'm talking as somebody who's been married for 10 years, as somebody who has crappy printed photos from our wedding, and somebody who lost our digital files. Okay, guys, I'm done talking about this. If you know somebody that would benefit from this topic, that would like to hear this, then don't forget to share it to them. And next week I am going to be talking about 6 culture shocks that I had when I moved to the States. So if you are a foreigner who's moving to America and would like to know some of the cultural differences I experienced moving here from Europe, then I hope you're gonna tune in. And thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you guys next week. No matter where you are in the world, have a good day. Bye, guys.